All right, everybody, welcome to this episode of Home-Based Business 101. My name's Meredith Banka, and I'm your host today. And I'm so excited because I have a friend here with me that I have honestly known, I think since I was 18 or 19 years old. This is Jody Young, and her business is called Bead Art-Worth. And Jody is an incredible businesswoman, but she is also a phenomenal artist. And today we're here to talk about how, if you're a maker, if you're somebody that's creative, if you have that expression and that gift, how you can actually turn it into a business from home that can be lucrative and exciting and really, really fun. So welcome to the show, Jody.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. And you know, what's so funny? I was thinking this morning, how life really just comes full circle, because the first time that I ever really recognized that you were a business person and that you were also an artist was when I was in university. And I don't know if you even remember this, but I was doing my senior seminar, and my degree is actually in art. And we had to go out and interview people that were either doing business that was related to art or who were working artists. And each of us was responsible to find somebody to interview. And I remember calling you and asking if I could interview you and bring a whole bunch of my students to your gallery, to your store. Do you remember that?
I don't.
Oh yeah. And we all came, there was probably 10 of us. And we came to your first store that was out. Jody and I happened to live in the same area. It was out in a little house.
Oh yeah.
Out in the valley. And we
I do
came
remember that now, Meredith. Yes.
yes. And it's just so cool that, that was the very beginning of your entrepreneurial journey. And now here we are 20 plus years later, and you are just still, manifesting new opportunities, creating new ways, to create business and art. And it's so cool. But I'd love for you to tell the story of how you got brave and walked away from that corporate business to open up your first business on your own.
Yeah. Well, I've had a business since I was in 7th grade. I've been doing jewelry since 7th grade. So, but that was actually 31 years ago, Meredith. So it's way over 20 years ago. 31 years ago, this month, as a matter of fact. And my mom, I had a corporate job. I was selling medical equipment. It was for my dad. And he always dreamt of me taking over his business and having this multi-million-dollar business. It just wasn't me. Nylons, business suits, I did it for a lot of years because that's what I thought I should do. So my mom took me to a beading class at the college and told me I needed to find myself again. And I fell in love with beads all over again, went right to the store after class and told the gal, I'm your new helper. When do you want me to start? Mm-hmm. So she hired me that next Monday. And I worked for her for about 6 months, and then she left. So I thought, well, I'm going to open a bead store. And that's what happened. And I've never looked back. I knew it would work, and I just followed my dream and my passion. So that's what happened.
And so you had never owned your own, you'd been in business, and your parents were entrepreneurs. So you've kind of always been around that.
Yes, I was raised in. Mm-hmm.
But you'd never owned a retail store of your own.
No.
So there was a lot of things that you didn't know how they worked or what to do.
Yeah, I knew, I think just intuitively.
Mm-hmm. And so you just really said, I love how you said, I knew it was going to work.
I knew it. It just hit my soul. It's like, this is going to work, and I'm going for it.
And so how long did you have, your gallery was like a bead store, a gallery, an education place. I mean, it was so many things. How long did you have that before you made your next move?
21 years.
So you had the store for 21 years, mm-hmm. and you decided to sell it. Is that right?
I decided to move to Maui. I wanted to live in Maui.
And so where did that come from?
Well, Paul and I used to go there all the time, and he would leave, and I'd end up staying an extra month. And I kept saying, I want to live here. I just don't know when and where. Mm-hmm. I want to be an artist here. So I just happened to say it to a right person, which was Thomas, which you know. Mm-hmm. And he said, what does Paul do? And I said, he's a handyman. He can fix anything. He says, I have a job for him. I said, well, take it. So I came home because I knew what I was going to do over there. I was going to work at the Grand Wailea and be an artist and all that. I knew it. So I came home and told Paul we were moving, and that was in July, and we had to be there by October 6th. And so I was telling all people at the store, I'm moving to Maui. I'll leave my store here for summer to run. And a gal said, I'll buy it. So I'm like, oh, okay. So we went through that, and then she couldn't get her loan. And so I came back and I closed my store. It was just too much to be you can't be an absent owner.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you are the store.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I came back and I closed it in 3 weeks. I liquidated it, and then I went back to Maui. I loaded up my garage, my shop in the back, the basement full of beads, and went back to Maui and lived there for 2 more years.
Wow, that's so incredible. I mean, such good little nuggets and lessons in here. You know, like number one, you decided you were going to be successful. You decided the store was going to be successful. There was a ton you didn't know how to do. You never looked back, and you had a successful business for 21 years. But you weren't so tied to it when the next opportunity came that you weren't willing to move on from it. Like, you know, it sounds like you were really just willing to allow that business to have served its purpose and to have run its course, and to be open and excited for the next step.
Yes. Is how I live my life.
Well, I mean, and it's such an example, because I think a lot of us get a little bit stuck. You know, we're personally tied, we're emotionally tied to the work that we're doing. And sometimes that prevents us from being able to make that next big leap and reinvent ourselves again. So now here you're living in Maui, you've got your husband there, he's doing a, you know, handyman type job. You guys are living the life.
He doesn't like.
He doesn't like it, but he's doing it anyway, because you're in Maui. So, you know, I mean, right. How bad can it be? And so you wanted to get your work into galleries, but did you know anybody there?
No.
So you didn't know anybody.
No, but every time I'd go to all the artists. The hotels have different artists, and I got accepted into 4 different hotels. And then it was too crazy. So I picked the best one, the Grand Wailea. And then I just worked from, 9 to 2, 4 days a week. And the experience was unbelievable. My work was so accepted there, because I do so much sea life work. And my first customer was the CEO of Forbes. I mean, it was just, and he was such a nice guy. I had never sold so much stuff at once. My hands were shaking. I didn't even know how to write up the slip. And I just remember him grabbing my hands and saying, "Here, let me help you, Jody." And it was so sweet. I still get goosebumps over it. And he said, "Now we're going to walk over there, and I'm going to sign it off to my room, and then you're going to get a pink slip." And I thought, a pink slip? Wow. I thought pink slips were supposed to be bad. So I liked all those pink slips. So it was very, very successful. My business just went nuts. Yeah.
So you worked in the gallery at the Grand Wailea, and then also had your work in there while you were away.
No, actually you have to be a resident. So I worked as a resident artist. So I would go set up a booth 3 or 4 days a week
in the hotel itself. I see. Awesome.
Yeah. And then they would show some of my work in the gallery as well.
Right. And so you would do that 9 to 4, a few days a week, and then you would go home and create your work the rest of the time.
Yeah, it was a different thing. I had to sit and just, beat away and create, and because I sold a lot.
Yeah. And so then what did that do for you kind of as an artist, as a business person, to really see what you were doing being accepted? Because that's a different role than owning the retail establishment, where you were teaching classes and ordering inventory and, pricing it and selling it and having staff. That's very different than switching into this like role of maker and of artist, where it was entirely up to you now, right?
Right. It was just me, myself, and I. So, the crazy thing is that I had been beading all these sea life pieces for years prior to this. And one of my friends said, "Oh my gosh, you just sit and bead and bead and bead and bead, and you just bury yourself in it." Well, not knowing what was coming ahead, I had so much inventory that's the reason I was able to do that. So if
Mm-hmm.
I had just moved there and needed to have a, 3 tables full of work, I wouldn't have been able to do it. I wouldn't have been able to get that far because my bead work takes a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So for me to switch into that, it was just already laid out for me because I had
Mm-hmm.
so much inventory and I still had to do the sales part of it and just be myself and having to be in a community of a bunch of artists that was just absolutely beautiful. So I was there for 2 years.
And so while you were there, you were really just immersing yourself in creating and working, in this gorgeous, gorgeous, like the if you don't know the Grand Wailea, it is like the nicest property on the island of Maui. I mean, just an absolutely incredible place to be. You couldn't ask for a better place to do business. But
Right.
then you decided that your time in Maui was coming to an end.
My
And
husband did.
okay. He said, that's enough. I'm tired of
He's a
fixing.
mountain man.
I'm tired of doing these things. Let's get back to the Northwest. And so you found
Yes,
your way back to the Northwest where we live now, which allowed you to reinvent again, right?
I had to. Yeah. So my daughter and her boyfriend lived in our house when we moved away. So we came back and still have the same house that you used to come to our Halloween parties and stuff.
Oh, yes.
It's still the same house. Um, and then I needed, like you say, reinvent myself. So then it's like, okay, now I don't have a store. Um, I had been working towards, I'd been published quite a few times and stuff for my work prior to all this. So it's like, well, I want to travel and teach. I love to teach. So I just started traveling all over the United States, packing huge suitcases and traveling and teaching.
And
And
so
I have
you
it. And I had an Etsy store and my website, and then, social media. I didn't have social media 31 years ago, obviously. So that really bumped everything up for me.
So talk to us a little bit about your Etsy store, because I think a lot of people that, there's just a ton of people right now. And although I love anybody that wants to start a business from home, most of the people who listen to this podcast and who follow me on Facebook, most are women, and many of them are makers. There's
Mhm.
so many people that are making incredible things. But I think that taking that from, your small town craft fair or farmer's market onto the internet and using Etsy or using your own website, that's a leap that a lot of home-based business owners are trying to make. So can you talk to us a little bit about, like, how did you get started on Etsy? How did you get it to work for you?
Well, I started Etsy back when I had my store. I was selling supplies on it. So it's been established for a long time. Um, Etsy is a great source to sell, and but it takes a while. So if you're just starting, don't get discouraged. Just keep plugging away. The more you post, the more you get up on the top of Etsy and the more views and followers you can get. So with social media, I find that if I can use my social media part of it and gear them towards my Etsy site, that is a big plus as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Etsy takes some time to learn it, but the most important thing are your keywords. Really
Mm-hmm.
be specific on your keywords.
Yes, because it's like a gigantic search engine. I
Yes,
think of Etsy like the Google of all things that are being made, And
right.
so, yes, are there other people that are doing beaded jewelry on Etsy? Probably, I mean, tens of thousands for sure. I don't
Oh,
even,
yeah.
so how do you get yours to the top? And I think that's great guidance. Use keywords, have great photos, really, and also
Descriptions.
and use all of your other social media to drive all things back to this one point of your store, so that
Right,
people, like, if you're posting on Facebook or TikTok or Instagram, everything points back to this Etsy store, so
right.
that um my phone is just blowing up today. Insane. But that's okay. I love it when it does, because that means good things are happening, right? So
Right.
awesome. Well, I love that you did that. You got your Etsy store, transitioned it from supplies to your actual pieces. So now you're traveling the
No,
country.
actually, I don't put a whole lot of my pieces on there. It's mostly supplies.
It is supplies that because you do kits. So I'm
Mhm.
just so glad we're doing this, because you have created multiple streams of income inside of this concept of being an artist, and inside this concept of getting to live your best life doing what you want to do. So
Mhm.
not only do you have your pieces that are I mean, just incredible. They are pieces there. It is wearable art, everyone. I mean, this is not, your craft store beaded jewelry, right? I mean, this is like insanely artistic and beautiful. But you have kits, right? So you sell, you have little kits where you say, here's a piece. If you want to make this piece that I've designed, if you want to make one of your own, here's the kit and here's the instructions on how to do it. And
right. And I also sell inspirational kits too. So I'll just put a package together that I would love to bead, but there's just not enough time. So I'll just sell the inspirational kit and that people will take off on their own and do their own thing. But everything is everything is in the kit that they need.
Yeah. And so you've got the kits, you've got the inspirational kits, you've got the kind of like copy the one that I already did kit, right? The kind of design done for you kit.
Right.
But then you're traveling all around the country. You're going to all these bead shows. You have a captive audience. You're starting to really become known, like you've been featured in the top publications in this niche of people who love beads and who love making jewelry. All of those things are happening. And then all of a sudden, COVID.
Yeah.
Right. And so if your business and your audience is grown by traveling around to large, events, and now all of a sudden the country's shut down, then what did you do?
Well, I opened another Facebook page. I've only got 7 of them. And I thought, I am going to sell creative components. So I opened up this page and have a bunch of followers. So I moved them over there, and I'm like, okay, Paul, we're going to sit and bag beads. You're going to be my helper. And it just took off. I mean, all these women are at home and they have nothing to do. And I've got great creative components and elements and things. And it was insane, Meredith. It was like COVID for my business was one of the best things ever.
And
I had the best year ever.
I mean, I hope that listeners are understanding like how incredible your mindset is, because you have gone from, this isn't really my passion. I don't want to really live my life in nylons and suits selling medical equipment, even though you would have done well, I'm sure. And you would
I would have been a multimillionaire.
Yeah, it's a lucrative business, but it didn't serve your heart or your purpose.
No.
So you step into entrepreneurship. You decide it's going to work. You decide you want to move to Maui. You don't decide you want to come home, but you love your husband, so you do.
Yeah.
And you reinvent yourself again. And then rather than saying, oh my gosh, my business might be coming to an end because I can't travel anymore and I can't teach in person anymore, you reinvent again and actually come out ahead of where you even were previously.
Exactly.
And to me, the lesson in all of this for us that are home-based businesses is, how can you create multiple entry points for people into what you're doing? How can you create multiple ways to earn money? And how can you, anytime something happens, whether it's due to your own choice or, that you're at the effect of something larger than you, how do you have that mindset where you say, okay, how can I make this work? What's my next move? And I think that's really the lesson that you are just living proof of, because now you're teaching through Zoom, aren't you?
I am. I was terrified of it. Everybody's like, you need to do Zoom. I'm just like, oh my gosh, because computers, I've learned a lot. I mean, I do everything myself as far as my business. I don't have a web designer. As you can, when you go to my website, you'll be like, yeah, this needs help, but it's on the list. So I finally decided I am going to take a Zoom class from a couple of instructors to see how they do it and if it's something that I want to do. So I did the investment of taking the class and I really enjoyed it. And I thought, oh, this is a piece of cake. I can do this. So I just went and bought myself a camera and learned how to do it. And I have very successful Zoom classes now. I sell out within 15 minutes.
That's insane. That's insane. Here's another thing that you just said that's so important. You said, I invested. I needed to learn how to do something that I didn't know how to do. So I invested to learn how to do it. And that's another lesson of the successful entrepreneur who is able, I mean, 31 years you've been able to live the life that you wanted, doing what you love, but you're continuing to invest in yourself. You're continuing to reinvent. You're not afraid of not knowing something. You're like, oh, okay, I can figure that out. You know, I have this one Facebook group. I want to move all the people over here. Well, I'll figure out how to do that. Oh, I need to teach my class online. I'll figure out how to do that. It's just that concept and that energy of there isn't anything I can't do because I know I'm serving my purpose. And so if you're thinking about starting that home-based business, I think it's the most important to start with your vision and your why. You know, it's not about, you know, monetizing it. It's about stepping into who you truly are and being able to find a way to get paid to do what you love. And if you can start with your why and start with your vision, there is no stopping you. That's where that deep clarity, I think, comes from.
Yep. And the universe will guide you. You just have to be willing to listen.
For sure. I so
And
agree with
that.
so now here you are, you know, Paul is no longer a handyman. Paul is now your, you know, your bead bagging buddy. He gets to help you.
Well, that only lasted 3 months. He looked at me one night and he's like, oh my gosh, you work so flippin' hard. I can't keep up with you.
So now do you have employees that help you then? Do you have somebody?
My daughter, Angie, she comes and helps me when I need help. And, but no, I pretty much just do me, myself, and I.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So if you were, you know, going all the way back into the Wayback Machine, when you and I, you know, first had that meeting at your very first store with all of my college friends, and now 31 years later, you've had all this experience and all of this, you know, just great success. What would you say to that person that's sitting at home right now, listening to this, that has an idea, but just isn't quite sure how to get started and doesn't really yet have the clarity and direction for their business?
Just start, just go for it. You know, we all make mistakes. And I'm not saying this has all been peachy and I haven't had my challenges, because I have. But just push towards it and follow your heart. Your heart will not lie to you. Your intuition, if it's so deep in your soul and you just know this is going to work, just go for it. And if it doesn't work, then don't beat yourself up. It was just a lesson. And try something different, you know.
That's so
try
awesome.
A different angle or a different path, you know. We could all walk down past it. If you want to choose to go left or right or keep going straight. So just follow the path it's set out for you. Everybody can be successful at this.
That's so great. That's so awesome. So Jody, if somebody's curious and they wanted to see your work or, you know, be able to follow you, what's the best place for them to do that?
Well, my personal Facebook page is probably the best one to see what's going on with me. So it's just Jody Young. And I also have a website, like I said, that needs to be updated. But there's a lot of information on there too.
And the website is Bead Art-Worth, WORTH. So beadartworth.com.
Yes.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being here with us today. Thanks for joining in and sharing your story. I know it's added a ton of value. I know I'm inspired. And for all of you out there that are thinking about starting a business, especially if you're a maker and an artist, Jody is a great example to follow. And really, you know, if you see somebody else succeeding, doing what it is you want to do, don't get jealous. Instead, remember that that's setting an example of what's possible for you. So best of luck to everybody out there. Don't forget to jump on over to Facebook and follow me on the Side Gig Gurus. But for this episode of Home Based Business, thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you again the next time.